Hey guys, Banana Luck here. Welcome back to another Watch Your Realms video. This video is recorded in advance because I'll be away next week and these videos will pretty much be pre-recorded over the last weekend. And I just want to talk about all the banners that are upcoming or rather are already here in game if my predictions or rather Destin's predictions are right. And just want to talk through it, whether you should summon and all that, because I'll only be back the next weekend, which by the time will be too late. So thought that this information might be handy from the get-go when the banners actually come live. So my guess is these banners will only come in after the patch hits, which is Tuesday. So yeah. First of all, I would like to talk about the ancient banner that's coming up. So what we have is actually the Prateus Uredin banner, which I'm gonna flash on the screen right now. Just get it to align nicely here. And yeah, there we go. So Prateus Uredin, it's not too bad of a banner. I want to say it's amazing, but people have different opinions, especially with what you want to focus on in the game. When you compare this to, the other banner, which is gonna be Ingrid and Adea, people will probably be more excited about this because both of these guys are powerhouse AoE units. Whereas on the other hand, when we go back to the other banner, which is, Praetus and Uredin, it's not a bad banner, but Uredin is solely used for just, BP. No one can do it better than him, but that's the problem. Not everyone cares about GVG enough to get the highest BP possible. I think Uredin is currently the unit with the highest BP possible. I think people on like the 5x servers have already hit like 130k BP with just Uredin at A5, which is not that simple because I think one of my best guildmates has his Uredin at 127k, and that's with exclusive gear along as well. So the guy that has Uredin on 130k must be pretty crazy. So yeah, it boils down to that, but I'm not gonna talk too much about which one you should summon on. That video comes at a later part of this week. I just want to talk about the banners in general. So first of all, let's take a look at Uredin, right? So I have him. I put him when he first came out, and he has amazing stats. If you can see right here, 6.2k attack, which is very high. HP is average and all that, but the main reason why he looks so great in the beginning is that we didn't have much chaotic units, and chaotic units with such a high base will mean that if they get the chaotic lot buff, which you can see right here at the top, 60% extra damage when they are at 30% HP, and 20% extra attack bonus when they are below 30% HP as well. So you can see what I mean by, it looks promising at first because he has amazing stats. And coupled with the fact that he's the only guy with execution like Vienna on the melee level, and also with the fact that he had this unique spell called Potent Surge, and not so common anymore, but basically you can earn more than one time of your rage cap. So I'll talk about his skill in more detail later, but with all this mixed together, it seems like he was amazing. But he came into the game, people tested him, and he was rather disappointing. And what ended up happening was that people just started to use him to pad their BP, which you can see here. Mine is 112k. I think it's fairly average, but that's really what Uredin is known for nowadays. He's decent in Conqueror's Codex. I do have him there. If I just head to my Codex records, which will be right here. If you see my Conqueror's Codex, my best record, Uredin is there, A0, and he does decent damage there. So, very niche usage. I would say that he's mainly used for his BP. And if we take a look at his kit, basic attack is magic attack, attacks up to 5 enemies. And then his first passive, low HP, grants a higher rate regen auto for maximum of 15 when the HP reaches 30%. So you can start seeing why his kid is fading with a chaotic unit, he just wants as little HP as possible. And then his second passive, the one that we had a brief look earlier, when dealing damage using Soul Harvest, which is his ultimate, it's a 30% chance to execute enemies when their HP is below 35%. And when he receives fatal damage during Phantom Strike, which is his ultimate, and Soul Harvest, hero enters Unyielding, which can be triggered up to 1 time per deployment, and the Unyielding lasts for 7 seconds. And then we have his talent as well. After the ultimate is casted, basic attack will turn into Phantom Strike for 15 seconds. And then it will turn into Soul Harvest for 15 seconds if, let's say, he has Potent Surge, which is twice of his usual rich cap. I can see the damage multipliers are almost 2 times, 240% versus 150%. And one thing to take note is that there's execution as a part of his kit. So attacking 2 times is way better than attacking once at 300% damage, because this means twice the amount of chances to actually execute someone. And his ultimate attacks up to 10 enemies in a large range ahead. You can see right here. So he gets a nice 3x3 tile range. Before that, I think it's just a 2 tile range. Yep. And then other than that, he also does stun. And when Potent Surge is maxed out, yeah, he does 1200 AoE percent, 1200% AoE damage and inflicting stun. But the stun, yep, duration is quite different. One is 1 second, one is 3 seconds. And you can pretty much start to see why his kit sounds so good in theory. But what's the problem here? There's absolutely zero way for you to make Uredin low HP unless you put him in a tanking position. And there's literally no way that you can do that because he just doesn't survive it. People did it in AoE Arena, doesn't work. His cost is also way too high and he takes way too long to build up rage, even though he has this in his kit already. So all that said, that's why he became very lackluster when he first came into the game, and GVG was only pretty much taken seriously like a lot later on, and for most people, and that's when people realized that, you know what, Uredin is really good for BP, no one can beat him at it, that's why you would want him. And then his awakenings, during the effects of Unyielding granted by Arbiter of Death, that's the one where if he does the Potent Surge ultimate, increases his attack speed by 200%, and when the effect ends, restores 50% of his HP. Sounds good in theory, but like I said, you won't put him in a tanking position, so this really won't work well. A2, extra crit damage. A3, when Potent Surge maxes out, damage of Obliterating Blast ignores 40% of target's magic resistance, more damage. A4, extra penetration. A5, for each enemy taking damage from Obliterating Blast, increases attack by 5% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5 stacks, which just gives him a straight up 25% attack boost. So it's all to boost his damage output, but like I said, it takes him very long to actually accumulate up the rage, which makes him pretty lackluster when it comes from the damage point of view. Even in Conqueror's Codex, he's only great for the fact that, you know, he has the execution, he can clear out units if you need to, but if I had the choice, I would rather use Valderon or Emirate in place of Uredin. But that said, his awakenings are really just there for you to boost his BP. You don't really use it for the damage capabilities. His awakenings are not going to suddenly make him usable in other parts of the content. You really are only going to be using him in 2 places. GVG for BP affiliation, and then Conqueror's Codex. That's about it. But all that said, he's the best guy at it. No one does BP affiliation as good as him. As you can see, 112k at A0, skills maxed out with a Wailing Skull. Even my Jira with a Wailing Skull here, if let's say I were to swap the set, it's not gonna be that crazy. It's still 2k BP lower than that. And this is very important when it comes to GVG, because your Demon Soldiers are only as strong as your affiliations. So yeah, that's enough talk about Uredin. Let's go ahead to talk about Prateus instead. So I don't have him, so we have to go to the gallery. Prateus, I mean, is there really much that we need to talk about him? It's just amazing, right? The Arbiter Lord, the only one as well available, and the reason why Arbiters are such an OP faction is that, firstly, they mostly have true damage as a part of his kit. There's inbuilt in Praetus as well, and also the fact that in Arena there's this Lord skill which is freaking crazy. Gains one divinity every 15 seconds. That comes in the form of a skill button, and you have a cap of 3, and you can consume it to actually do like different amounts of damage. And basically, the more faction units that you have available, the more true damage that you actually do. And also the fact that you get stunned along the way, which is amazing for Samra. And as well as, on top of all that, all your faction team members also gain increase in damage when he does that hammer thing. So that's his Lord skill first of all. Elysia has the exact same thing, just that it doesn't have that damage boost that I just mentioned. But other than that, all these are pretty much going to be the same, but it scales to a Lord's attack, which makes Praetus a much more better option because he has way better base stats. And then first look at his talent. When eliminating an enemy or casting an ultimate, increases damage by 10%, including his true damage as a part of his kit, and max HP by 10% permanently, stacking up to 5 times. In case you guys still didn't catch that, that's Soba Arcana, but inbuilt in his kit. Okay? First thing, magic damage. Usual mage range, nothing special here. Okay, first passive. Gains 1 Light of Judgment that deals 30% of the hero's 30% damage to the hero's target every time he attacks. Up to 5 instances of Light of Judgment can exist at the same time, and this cooldown goes down to 10 seconds, which means that within 50 seconds, Praetus is gonna be fully up in terms of damage capabilities here. And then second passive, during the ultimate, basic attack deals 40% extra true damage based on the hero's attack. Light of Judgment, which is that thing that we just saw, deals 20% extra true damage based on the hero's attack, and this goes up to 60% for the Praetus' own passive attacks, and then extra 10%, which brings it up to 30% for Light of Judgment. And in case you guys didn't realize, this is another kit that's copied from another hero, and that's Calypso. But Calypso doesn't true damage in any way possible, so you can start to see why Praetus is such a crazy unit. And then his Lord Arena passive reduces his cost by 5, which brings it down to 20. And we haven't taken a look at his base stats. Fairly okay. Attack is a bit higher than usual as compared to other mages, but not as crazy as Ingrain. So, all in all, Praetus is a crazy unit for the amount of true damage he puts out. Coupled with the fact that he's the only Arbiter Lord, that means that no one has the hammer skill that he does have. And onto his ultimate. During the ultimate, increases attack by 30%, and when there's only one enemy in range, inflicts 3 stacks of Radiant Erosion. And then if there's more than one enemy, inflicts Chain of Fate, which means that when one Link unit receives damage, the other Link units receive true damage equal to 50% of the inflicted damage, and 1 stack of Radiant Erosion on up to 3 enemies in range, and this effect goes up to 16 seconds, 700 skill cap, which is pretty low, lower than average. And yeah, there's really not much to talk about his kit. It's nothing like crazy in terms of like uniqueness. It's just flat out lots of damage, and the longer the battle goes by, the more of a menace it becomes. And there's really no other unit that can do the amount of true damage that he can do in the game. And don't forget the fact that this HP increase is pretty nasty for helping Praetus to survive, because basically every time he casts his ultimate or kills a unit, he gets 10% increase in max HP. So if you don't kill him in time, which means that if you can't garner him in time, Praetus just pretty much becomes a super tanky mage, and no one in the game can do that except him. He's that annoying to deal with. And Awakenings, A1, this was the one that changed because of Jira removing Radiant Erosion on her A1. So now he actually restores 3% rage no matter what. And the main difference I see here is that instead of starting at 0% rage after his ultimate ends, Prateus pretty much starts off at 50% or so with his A1. A2, extra damage, and extra attack for his faction members, which is crazy, because normally you get damage instead. This is attack. And then A3, when his Calypso Sealstone equivalent reaches a stack of 5, increases attack by 15%. A4, just extra rage regen. A5, every 15 strikes received from Light of Judgment, target receives 200% extra damage based on his attack. So his awakenings are all great, don't get me wrong, but I think if you have to choose between Praetus or Ingrid, I think Ingrid's A3 is going to do a lot more than Praetus. I think it's more damage, yes, but I think A1 is really good enough here. If you ask me if you have Praetus and Ingrid already, I would say that chasing the Ingrid A3 might be a lot better. Coupled with the fact that, you know, Ingrid and Adea are in the same banner, whereas this guy is paired with Uredin instead. So yeah, that's the two heroes. Amazing stuff. There's really nothing bad I can say about it. Praetus being the only Arbiter Lord and a crazy mage that does crazy amount of damage, he can make clearing game stages so much easier just because of true damage capabilities that he puts out. Even if you're late game and you've cleared everything, Praetus can do one more cool thing as well, which is faster gear rate clearance in a lot of different stages. The most obvious one is in gear rate 2. Void Rift as well, a lot of instances, his Lord skill will actually kill the boss before they even start moving. And no one can do that better than Praetus. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Am I gonna summon on this banner? I think I am. I have enough to hit PD twice by the time Ingrid comes onto the game. Right now it's at 142 and I have about 227. So you add that up, that's 371. I can for sure get 29 Asians by the time, you know, Ingrid comes to the game, or rather her banner comes later this month. So I am definitely going to summon on Praetus. I just hope to actually get him because the last Ancient we did, that was a good summon session because we did actually get our Eova, but yeah, not so confident whether we can get it again because before that we missed 4 lots in a row. But yeah, that's the review of, you know, the Ancient banner that's upcoming. I will talk more about whether you should summon compared to the Ingrid Adea banner, and also possibly talking about, you know, whether you should just wait out for the new Nightmare Lord instead. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comment section below. Be more than happy to answer them. That's it for the video. See you in the next one. Goodbye.